What's up, guys? Real quick before I get into the topic of the video, I just want to kind of apologize for the somewhat long break in videos. I think it's been like 10, 11 days since I uploaded. Part of that was because I didn't really have any ideas for what to talk about, but I also just got really bogged down in schoolwork, and a lot of my friend group got sick, so I've been kind of stressing over that. But yeah, I've got a topic here that I really want to talk about, and I've got some free time, so I'm doing this now. So today, I'm going to be talking about, kind of as the title suggested, timed missions, and how they are, in my opinion, counterintuitive to the design philosophy of Warframe as a whole, and how they are unfun. A lot of the times they are unrewarding, and more often than not result in negative gameplay experiences for players. So real quick, just before we get into it, I have a wiki page here for mission awards to showcase. In case you're unaware, most missions in Warframe follow this reward rotation pattern, where you start the mission, your first reward is from the A pool, your second is from the A pool, then you get a B pool, and then a C pool. So what this means is that for the first two rotations, you're getting A. So that means that the A rewards in a mission are going to be very heavily skewed in terms of the reward that you're getting. So for instance, if you had a mission that, let's just say, took 1 minute per rotation reward, and you wanted to farm only the A rotation reward, you could do 1 per minute, and then once you did it twice, you could extract, go back in, do 2 more again, getting another 1 per minute. However, if you wanted to farm the C rotation reward, you would have to do 4 minutes to get 1 rotation, and then you could either extract or keep going, which does escalate the difficulty. However, normally I don't think that's really much of an issue. So what this means is that it takes 4 times as long, generally speaking, to receive C rotation rewards compared to A rotation rewards. And this is a really big problem, because I have some examples here where a lot of the time in these specific game modes, the C rotation rewards is where all the good stuff is. Or maybe not all the good quote-unquote stuff, but the Warframe part rewards, weapon blueprint part rewards, arcane rewards, mod rewards, things that you're farming for. And then the reason why I'm making this about timed missions is because this rotation here generally applies to endless missions, which the wiki listed out all 14 of them here. And in most of these, I don't really like playing these because there's no incentive, or rather, not no incentive. There is no way to speed up the process in which you gain the rewards, right? So if we just go through this real quick, defense, obviously, you need to do 3 waves to get 1 rotation, and the way to clear waves is by killing all the enemies in the wave. Now, theoretically, you can, by your own player skill and build and whatever, you can influence how fast you complete defense missions. But I find this to be on the very, very edge of, like, player possibility. Because a big part of defense is that the enemies just don't spawn. Like, if there's 100, let's say there's 50 enemies in a wave, there'll be like 10 that spawn right away. You go kill all of them. Then you spend the rest of the wave hunting down, looking at each individual spawn point and killing like 1 enemy at a time, 2 enemies at a time. They never just spawn all the enemies at once, which you can then instantly clear, instantly complete the wave, go on to the next wave. So defense, I don't really, me personally, I don't consider defense to be something that is like skill rewarding. It does not reward any skill you have as a player. The most skill it has is that you have to defend an objective, which, in some of the more important content, like EDA, ETA, the defense targets are just simply too weak to ever survive against the enemy's scaling. This is especially notable in, like, ETA with stage defense, in EDA with mirror defense. If you leave that objective alone for like 5 seconds and there's a decent amount of enemies, it is going to get chunked, and it's really hard to heal it, or in some cases, straight up impossible. Next we have Defection. This is a game of probably some of you don't even know exists because it is so irrelevant and abandoned. But this is the game mode where you have to save like random like crew members of ships. You have to lead them through various checkpoints, and then eventually they'll go to the end, and then they'll be saved. You can influence the speed at which the individuals get moved in Defection. However, there's like a list of like 5 abilities that affect their movement speed, like Volts 2, Wisp Reservoirs. You can switch teleport them with Loki. You can put them through Nova's wormhole. And that is a way in which you can speed up these missions. However, if you're doing anything except like Loki teleport and Nova wormhole, you're more or less just lowering the amount of time by a number. You're still gonna do a lot of just sitting there and waiting for these AI squad members to get through the mission. Now, Disruption, obviously, this is one of the exceptions to the rule. Disruption is 100% player skill-based, the only level of, like, I would say cap to your speed. And sometimes the keys just don't drop very fast, which means then you then just kind of have to run around, try and find some enemies. And that can kind of suck, but generally speaking, Disruption is based on how, quote-unquote, good you are as a player or how good your build is. Obviously, if you can one-shot the Demolist, you're going to speed up the mission quite a lot. So Disruption is good. I like Disruption. I think Disruption seems to be a pretty liked game mode. Then we have Excavation. This is my personal least favorite game mode in the entire game. Excavation also does not reward player skill in almost any way. It has the same problem that Defense has, where the health of the Excavator doesn't really scale with level in a fair way compared to the enemy level. This was especially known if you played during Duviri's launch, and even now, really. The Excavators just don't gain that much HP per level, and the enemies gain so much damage that by the time you get into, like, I would say probably like level 1000, the Excavators drop down, they get shot by like a Grenier Lancer like 4 times, and they're dead. And there's not a ton you can do about this other than use very specific like Frost Bubble, Gara, Shield, things like that. Which is fine and all. I'm okay with that being like, I'm okay with objective defense being a game mode. What I don't like is the fact that, once again, you can't speed up the rate at which Excavators excavate. Right? They take, I believe they have, a minute 40 is the amount of time you need to have them drilling for, and each power cell is 20, and I think they start with 20 power. So you need to supply 4 power cells to every excavator. But once you do that, you're just sitting around waiting for the excavator to finish excavating. And this sucks. And it sucks. I just remembered this. Excavation is one of the only sources, and the only other sources are like, not direct sources, and they're not reliable. This is the only way to get cryotic, and that means for something like the infamous Sea Bear, which takes 30,000 cryotic, well, 1% on the excavator is 1 second of time is 1 cryotic. We can do some very simple math here and realize that the Sea Bear takes 30,000 seconds of excavator farming to get all that cryotic. And 30,000 seconds is 500 minutes, which is over 8 hours of not just playing the mission, because this assumes you always have an excavator going perfectly after the previous one has finished, which is not guaranteed. And also it assumes you never extract. It's also not counting for any just, maybe you get unlucky with power cell drops. And that's for 1 weapon. Now, granted, is it a particularly good weapon? No, I don't think so. It's not for a Warframe. However, there are frames like infamous Vauban Prime, which require an obscene amount of a lot of resource. I think cryotic is one of them. And having to go to excavation to farm that cryotic, it's kind of torturous. Because once you supply your power cells, you are just sitting there, killing a couple enemies, because even the enemy spawns aren't very high, and waiting for the timer to run down. And that's really what this video is going to kind of culminate around. Game modes where you sit and wait for a timer to tick down are not good. So next up we have Infested Salvage. This is also similar to Defection. This is probably a game mode that a lot of you don't even know exists. Because it is on, like, 3 nodes, I think. And it only, you only do it to get Nidus. But the gameplay is so fucking boring. Because, again, a lot of it is just sitting around waiting for a timer to go down. And, I mean, I don't really have much more to say on that. That's bad. Real quick, down to Interception. Kind of the same thing. Interception is mildly better than the rest of these, I would say. On, like, the tier list, it'd be, like, top 3 in terms of good and timed missions. Because at least you have a lot to manage as a solo. If you're playing solo and you're trying to manage all 4 points, it can be a little challenging to get around and cover all the objectives. However, I find that in most times where I'm even bothering to play interceptions, which pretty much boils down to the Archon hunt, there's not really a lot of enemy spawns, and even if there are, they all concentrate on 1 point at a time, which makes it very easy to just go to the point that's being attacked, kill all the enemies, and then you have like 15 seconds before another point gets attacked. If they would split up and cover like 3 points at a time, I think that Interception could actually get a pass on being a timed game mode, because I'd be so engaged in defending each individual point. But yeah, once you capture all 4 points, you have done all you can do as a player to speed up this mission. You are now waiting for a timer to tick down. Not good. Mirror Defense. Mirror Defense might be the worst. I'm really stuck between Mirror Defense and Sanctuary Onslaught as far as the worst ones go. Mirror Defense, not only is it a essentially mobile defense, except you have to work twice as hard to get your reward. The rewards from it, obviously, you know, there's 2 nodes where there's mirror defense. But then the rewards consist of, like, a Warframe per node, which means, okay, there's a ton of grinding to be done there, because obviously the chances aren't very good. But then there's also a bunch of Arcanes at Tiana Pass, and at, the one on Albrecht's Labs, I don't remember the name of it, you got all the tome mods. So this isn't like Defection, where it's like you can suffer through it to get your Harrow and then be done. Mirror Defense, if you wanted to grind everything out and you weren't just going to buy anything, Mirror Defense you would spend a lot of time at. And again, Mirror Defense, it's basically a mobile defense, which is not on here, but mobile defense also is a mission that is on my shit list, because mobile defense involves doing basically nothing for 80% of the mission, and the only time you get to actually do something is when you are running between the objectives, or between the mobile defense points to insert the console. And Mirror Defense is basically, you do 2 mobile defenses and get 1 reward. You still have to just wait for a timer to tick down. The little mini game of collecting the little glyphs or the crystals is okay. It's kind of engaging. Once again, I wish that they spawned more, because I often find that I collect all the crystals, and I'm then hunting around for little tiny patches of like 3 crystals at a time to get. And yeah, Mirror Defense, I don't like it. Same thing, you're just waiting for a timer to tick down to get your rewards, and there's nothing that the player can do to speed that up, and that's not engaging. Orphix, I actually kind of haven't really played this. I played it a little bit, obviously, because I've done all the Railjack nodes, but I don't quite remember everything to do with this. I'm pretty sure there's no time section of Orphix. I could be wrong, though. Correct me in the comments if I'm an idiot. But I think Orphix is pretty engaging, because you're doing like kind of a boss fight type thing. I think it's okay. It also just isn't Railjack, so it is mostly irrelevant for content purposes. Sanctuary Onslaught, this is where I start to get really angry, because, and I'm gonna jump to the reward tab for Sanctuary Onslaught. I am talking about normal Sanctuary Onslaught here. However, Elite Sanctuary Onslaught is not barred from my critiques here. So Sanctuary Onslaught, obviously, is timed, and it is 2.5 minutes per zone, and no way to speed that up, of course. And all you do is kill enemies in a circle. Now the problem is, normally, as you guys can tell, I'm with the whole killing enemies things, right? I'm complaining about the fact that, we're doing a lot of defending and not a lot of killing. So you'd think that, I'm okay with Sanctuary Onslaught because there's a lot of killing to be done. However, because Sanctuary Onslaught is super low level, for one, there's like no feedback to your kills. You just kind of play Volt, press 4, and the whole map goes away. But also these zones are 2.5 minutes per, as I said. They are timed, you cannot speed them up. And even then past the 2.5 minutes you have to do per zone, you then have to wait for the portal to spawn, which, depending on the host, because I'm pretty sure it's ping related, can take a ton of time. I've had it take like 45 seconds for the portal to spawn, or it could just be instant. But then you have to do the little glitchy teleportation thing into the portal, then back out of the portal, and then the timer for the next zone starts. So it's actually more like, I would put it more in the ballpark of 3 minutes per zone, and then, even after all that, you need to do 2 zones per rotation reward. So we're going to assume 2.5 minutes for the purpose of giving Sanctuary Onslaught the best chance it has. 2 zones for our rotation A reward. That is 5 minutes for a 8.3% chance at the Korra chassis. Now, I'm just going to assume that you're not doing Sanctuary Onslaught to farm for any of these random relics, or 300 Endo, or these Captura scenes. You need to spend 5 minutes for an 8% chance at the chassis. But don't worry, if you miss it the first time, you can keep going for, rotation A number 2, because that's how that works, and you get another 8% chance. So in 10 minutes, you've had 2 8% chances at the Korra chassis. Now, that's already pretty bad. Quite just straight up, that's pretty awful. But don't worry, it gets worse. Because now we go to rotation B, which is on zone 6, so this is now 15 minutes, for again, 8% chance at the Korra Inner Optics. 15 minutes for an 8% chance. And again, you can't speed this up. This is my entire point of frustration with this, is that there is nothing the player can do to speed up this grind. It is not like all the frames you get from assassinations, where you can potentially get a really strong build to insta-kill the boss to then do it faster, or you can use like Titania to speed through the mission and complete the mission faster on an assassination. There is nothing you can do to speed up this grind. And then the absolute worst. If you were to have perfect luck in Sanctuary Onslaught farming Korra, you would get Korra chassis first try, you get Korra Inner Optics first try. But then, after 20 minutes of Sanctuary Onslaught gameplay, you would get either the Korra Blueprint or the Korra Systems. We're assuming perfect luck. You spending 20 minutes on this grind with perfect luck. Keep in mind, a frame like any frame that comes from an assassination, which isn't like, Wisp, which is a really timed boss, if you have like medium average luck, you can farm them in like 20 minutes. This is with perfect luck. You don't get all of Korra. With perfect luck, farming Korra, you get Korra in 40 minutes. Again, the number of frames that you can farm with average or decent luck and get in 40 minutes, and it would be way more engaging because you could reduce the time it takes via your own skill or whatever strategy you're choosing to do. There are so many. I don't have the list pulled up, and I can't really think of many. But all of the frames you get from assassinations are generally going to be way, way faster than the perfect Korra grind if you had average luck. I'm pretty sure even if you had bad luck, it wouldn't take you more than 40 minutes to get assassination-based frames. Korra, this is such an egregious failure of allocating Korra's parts to a mission. And I'm pretty sure since they buffed Ash's grind a while back, I'm pretty sure Korra now remains the worst frame grind in the entire game. Obviously, it's been a while since Kenjinir uploaded, you know, how long does every Warframe take to get, so still waiting on that to come out for the confirmation. But I'm pretty sure Korra is the worst grind in the game, just by raw time. And this is actually one thing that Mirror Defense did okay. I'm saying okay because they didn't do it great, but they did it okay, and the idea was good. Mirror Defense at least had a absolute floor of how long it would take you to get everything you wanted from Mirror Defense, because you could get the crystals, and you could go to the shop and just buy all the stuff. Sanctuary Onslaught has none of that. You go 20 minutes, you don't get your core apart, well, go again. You spend 12 hours grinding the Sanctuary Onslaught to try and get your core apart, you get nothing, go again. There is no pity system, there is no nothing. You just get it or you don't. And I may sound really frustrated and passionate about this, and it's because I spent probably a total of 10 hours playing Sanctuary Onslaught just to get the Korra systems, not even the rest of her parts. I finally cracked and just spent literally 6 straight hours one summer. This is multiple years ago. I spent 6 straight hours doing Sanctuary Onslaught, and on my last run, where I was like, okay, I'm done, I can't handle just sitting around in Sanctuary Onslaught waiting for the waves to finish, I got the Korra systems, which thank God I did, because I would have gone insane otherwise. Now, one thing I will just say before someone, you know, thinks they're really smart in the comments and wants to mention it, I am aware that the Duviri normal path rotation includes normal versions of frames, including Nidus, and I'm pretty sure Korra is in there. And so that's kind of a failsafe for bad grinds. But I'm not accepting that as a, like, that's not an argument for why that this isn't that big of a deal. This is the intended way for you to get Korra. This is the main way. This is the way that was, like, when they were thinking of Korra and they were drafting this update, they thought of this, and they put her here. The Duviri normal path is just a cool little accident that happened when they were making Duviri, and they were like, oh, maybe we throw in some normal Warframes in here too. But this is the way that they initially intended for you to get this. And so, also, another thing to consider about Duviri is there's only 3 Warframes in the, you know, normal path pool per week. So there's a pretty solid chance you just don't have Korra in that weekly, in your weekly frame rotation on for the rewards. Which then means you're waiting on the cycle to go back to Korra, which could be, I think, literally months. So yeah, no, Duviri normal path is not an excuse for how bad these frame grinds are. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say on Sanctuary Onslaught. I spent probably like a solid 9 minutes just ranting about that. If you can tell, I'm very passionate about this topic in particular. This is probably my most passionate topic. Sanctuary Onslaught is a disaster. I'm not even gonna touch Elite Sanctuary Onslaught, by the way, with the 2% drop rates of Lado and Bratton Vandal parts. Yeah, I mean, this is abysmal. There's just no... I don't even know what to say on this one. Yeah. There's a reason why this stuff is like 200 plat for the full set. This is ridiculous. But okay, I'm done talking about Sanctuary Onslaught. I'm gonna close the tab so I'm not tempted to try it again. So back to the rest of the repeating missions, or the endless missions. Survival, yeah, it's kind of the same thing as most of the others. No way to speed it up. The only points that survival gets is that you do actually have to kill the enemies to get life support. You cannot just, like, you know, spam CC and never kill anything and still get through the mission, because all you need is the timer to go down. But survival is still bad game design because there's no engagement by the player. You just have to kill enemies to keep a resource meter up. No way to speed it up. no direct interaction from the player. I don't think it's very good. I'm gonna skip over the index because it's its very own, like it's a also the rotation rewards are based on difficulty, not time. So yeah, index, we're gonna skip over that. Void Armageddon. This is another one that is another time mission. This just it's timed. There's no way to speed up the time. You have to kill a Void Angel at the end, but killing the Void Angel is not part of a timer or anything. Yeah, Void Armageddon, this is another, what I would consider another mobile defense reskin. Yeah, not good. Void Cascade and Void Flood, these two are fine. These are both, your own skill and activity can increase the speed at which you do these, and you get your rewards. I don't have anything wrong with these. They're fun. And so, now I'm gonna, just before I get to the potential solutions for this problem, I'm gonna real quick just kind of hammer home the point on some of these. Here's the mirror defense for Tiana Pass. Keep in mind that the C rotation for mirror defense, I believe mirror defense is 2.5 minutes per wave, and it's 2 waves per rotation. So actually, this is just as bad as Sanctuary Onslaught. The only reason that it's quote-unquote better is because you get, you get your pity system reward, which, don't get me wrong, is good. But these numbers, compared to the shop cost of all of these items here, are terrible. Yeah, and also these drop rates are terrible. I mean, 6% per component part, 9% for the main, only on rotation C. I mean, these should have been spread out across A, B, C. Also, rotation A being basically nothing. I mean, you get these 2 blueprints, but that's it. This is awful. And reminder, you have to do the A rotation twice to then get to the B and C rotations, so you have to spend 10 minutes of essentially wasting time to get to the rewards, or the rotation rewards that you want. And then, you have a 9% chance to get the main blueprints, 18% chance for a component part. Very good. Same problem down here with the Munio tile. I don't really think people are caring that much with a Mandanel, but, it's not... These are okay odds, actually. I'm actually not totally... I'm not offended by a 15% drop rate. 5% chance for each Canticle and Invocation is awful because it's on rotation C, once again, and it takes 20 minutes in order to have a chance at one of these. Is it a 40% chance overall that you get one of these mods? Yes. But realistically, you probably want all 8 of these. I mean, I don't think I used the Foss Canticle. I don't think I used the Craw Canticle. But I definitely used these other 6. So you want all 6. And it's a 5% chance for each of them individually. So eventually you're going to be left to the point where you have a 5% chance after 20 minutes to get the thing you want. And there, for some reason, is no pity system on this. I don't know why. This came out after Tiana Pass, which I believe Tiana Pass was the first... I believe this was the first time that they really did, like, a dedicated pity system for this. For a mission reward. And then for some reason they just didn't do it here. I don't know. It's kind of weird to me. I also want to real quickly say as well, I don't accept the argument, or I don't think it is a good defense of the system that the tome mod pack in the market for like 160 platinum exists for you to just get all 8 of these. I think it's good that that is an offer, but it's not good that it is kind of I'm not going to say your only option. You're of course allowed to do what you want, but it is very sensible to buy that pack. I think it might be more worth your time to farm the platinum to buy that pack than it is to farm each individual Canticle and Invocation from this list. And I think that is kind of where I think grinds are too long. When it is more worth it to grind platinum, to buy it at the ridiculous price from the in-game store, because let's be real here, a lot of the prices on the in-game market for Platinum are a little crazy. Like, it's like 300 plat for base Warframes in some instances. That is where I think the grinds are bad. They're too long. So that's Mirror Defense. Infested Salvage, real quick, I briefly touched on this. This is just where you get Nidus. I think the numbers are good, right? 14% chance for each component part. I think that's solid. Again, just kind of wish that it was spread out across A, B, and C. Because, I mean, obviously it sucked when the only thing you have left is to get the C rewards, so you have to do 4 rounds just for a chance at the thing you need. But at least it's not you have to wait for the 4th round for a chance at everything you need. At least you could get something useful in these A and B rewards, because, I mean, let's just be real here. Looking at these rewards, nothing here is particularly inspiring. You got 150 endo after the B rotation. Woohoo, that's awesome. So yeah, this is really bad. And again, no pity system, because this was this is a much older feature. Excavation. There's not really a particular node where excavation, like, you need to grind a frame or a weapon or anything. I kind of want to just point out something here that I think a lot of people might not notice, is just how bad the excavation loot pool is. The A rotation is literal garbage. Now, I will say, for a new player, a brand new player, because excavation is I think one of the first game modes you play on, like, Venus or something. This actually isn't bad, honestly. 2,000 credits is still pretty weak for a beginner player, which really makes you wonder why this exists. But 100 endo for a beginner player is not bad at all. Like, that can help you rank up your aura mod. I forgot the name of it, but the one that they give you now, the universal aura mod, could be good for that. But then the rest of these just random lith relics, ammo mutation, a Bane mod. You get some essential mods here. All of these are terrible. Again, maybe not terrible for beginner players, I will say. I'm thinking about this now. Maybe these aren't, maybe you can get your Intensify here, although I'm pretty sure one of the junctions gives you an Intensify. I'm pretty sure one of them gives you a Serration and a Hornet Strike, too. So I'm not totally sure how useful these are. However, my problem with these is just that these loot pools that I'm showing you, these are also the loot pools for Steel Path. Well, this is the loot pool for Steel Path, because the way that the tiers work is that it's just the starting level of the mission, and obviously Steel Path is plus 100, so everything is tier 3. So that means in Steel Path, you're getting, 75% of the time you're getting 3,000 credits for spending a minute 40 at an excavator, which is just that's just awesome. The only reason that you have to engage with excavation is for cryotic, and I think I don't know. I just think it's really bad that it's a timer, and again, no way to reduce it. I know I've said that like 20 times, but that's kind of the crux of this whole video. So yeah, moving on from excavation. Here we have defection once again. This is the thing that I think I said, maybe you guys, again, aren't really aware of. So this is actually, I'm just now remembering, this is only for the systems of Harrow, because Harrow is one of those frames that's split into, you have to get each component at a totally separate location. Obviously, we all know where you get Harrow chassis from. The Neuroptics, I believe, are from rotation C of survival on what's it called, on Lua, maybe? I can't quite remember. It's one of those. It's rotation C of some survival, which means, by the way, again, Harrow is just an awful grind, because you have to get the systems from defection, you have to get the Neuroptics from rotation C of some survival, so that's 20 minutes, and then the chassis is free. But yeah, so defection, once again, you have a 6% chance to get these systems at the B rotation, and then you have a much more reasonable 15% chance to get it at the C rotation. This is honestly not terrible. I'm okay with the B chance for the systems being lower than the C chance. 6% I think is a little egregious. especially when the other rewards are just totally worthless. But this is okay. Once again, it just comes back to you can't really speed this mission up. You can use speed boosts, but then you're just kind of lowering the timer at a baseline. You're not actively doing anything to speed it up. And in Void Armageddon, yeah, this is another one where we have just a critical component for a weapon locked behind a horrible time gate on rotation C. The Hespar, I'm pretty sure you can trade this, and I'm pretty sure it is stupidly expensive, and no way to speed up the timer, and that's bad. So yeah, now I'm gonna kind of, finally 37 minutes in here, to the recording at least, I'm gonna talk about things, very simple ways that I think DE could I'm not gonna say easily, because I don't know much about game development, but I think these would be very easy to implement. And I think they would be easy because DE has already done them. DE has proven that they've been thinking about this, and they've put it in the game. If you've ever played Survival on EDA, ETA, you know that in EDA, you can interact with the Necromech spawners to spawn a Necromech, and then if you kill that Necromech, it lowers the timer by 45 seconds. That is an active way for the player to reduce the time it takes to complete a timed mission. I think that is perfect. I think that is exactly I think that should be in every survival. I think every survival mission should just have like a console where you can call in a powerful enemy. You know, obviously it can't be a Necromech for every tile set because that just doesn't work. But it's exactly what you call in like a mini boss, quote unquote. You beat it. You lower the timer by a certain amount of time. I guess in normal survivors, you would increase how long you've survived by a certain amount of time. Which there might be some problems with that and like the way that it counts or whatever. But again, I'm just kind of spitballing here, and I'm going off what they've done before. Similarly, in ETA, it will just spawn a Babao, and then if you go kill it, you reduce the timer by 45 seconds. That one, it's basically the same thing. The only difference is that you can't choose to not spawn it. However, normally the Babaos are spawning hundreds of meters away near the end of the mission. So I think that's okay. But once again, just DE's already done this. They've proven that they want you to be able to, or that they've proven that they know how to reduce these time gates on these missions. And again, I think just implementing the spawn a mini boss, lower the timer for survivals is great. Similarly, on mirror defense in EDA, because there's no mirror defense in ETA, you can, at the start of every wave, you can summon, just like in survival, you can summon a Necromech. If you kill it, you reduce the timer by 45 seconds. That's actually really impactful in the mirror defense, because again, mirror defenses are 2.5 minutes per wave. Reducing that timer by 45 seconds, that's a lot of time save. That's almost a third of the mission, or a third of the wave shaved off. So getting to do it once is not that big a deal per wave. And it's engaging. It forces the player to actually do something. In mirror defense especially, there's even more like that the player has to think about, because you have to actively be defending this target. So if you turn all your attention to kill the mini-boss to lower the timer, you might then be sacrificing the defense objective, the defense objective's integrity in order to lower the mission timer. So you have to weigh those odds. I think that's engaging, and I think that's good. So those are the ways that DE has already implemented preventing these time gates from being in the game. But then some of them still remain. With defense, obviously they did the thing where they made it 3 waves instead of 5, and apparently the waves are like more aggressive or whatever. I'm not really sure what that part means, but the 3 waves, obviously you can feel that. I would like to see them do a similar thing with survival. Lower the time required per rotation from 5 minutes to 3 minutes, and I don't know, just increase the enemy spawns. However, I think if they don't do that, again, the pre-established system where you spawn a mini boss and you get to lower the timer works just fine. I don't have a problem with that. For defection, honestly, I really don't know for defection because this is such a content island that it's hard to. The last time I played this was like years ago, so I really haven't thought about this other than for the fact of like, yeah, that's a timed mission that you can't increase the speed of, and that sucks. So I don't really know how you would go about fixing this one. Excavation, very simple fix here. If an excavator is at full power and you bring it a power cell, lower the time by 10 seconds. I don't think it needs to be 20 because that would be, I think, it would be very easy to just instantly clear excavators. But lowering the time by 10 seconds per power cell when it's already at full energy, I think that's fantastic. That encourages people to. It also, I don't know if power cell spawns are tied to loot spawns. So I don't know if using something like Necros would increase them. But it would encourage more frames like that to be of use in those missions. And it would encourage more active gameplay with picking up the power cells when the thing is already at full HP to speed it up. And that's good. Infested Salvage, I'm going to skip over just like Defection. Haven't played this in years. Don't know how it would be fixed. It's such a content island, so I don't know. Interception. I think interception is almost okay. I think the only change that I would like to see is that if you hold all 4 points in an interception mission, the capture speed is increased by like a flat multiplier. So like right now it's just like for each point you hold, the speed increases by some percent per second, and then when you have 4, obviously you just have the most. I would like to see it where, so let's say if you hold all 4 right now, it increases by like 5% per second. It doesn't, but let's just assume. I would like to see maybe a 1.5x multiplier if you hold all 4. So you hold all 4, now instead of it being 5%, it's like 7.5% per second. Something basic like that, just to encourage holding all 4 and to encourage defending all 4 so that they never get captured. Mirror defense, obviously, with the EDA example, the spawn a mini boss to reduce the timer thing, I think it's great. It's already in play for EDA. For some reason, I don't think it's in play for the actual node that mirror defense, the Albert's Lab mirror defense node. I don't think it's there for. I don't know why, but it's not. Orphix, again, I really haven't played this mode that much, and I don't think I want to try and give like a suggestion for how to improve it because, again, such a content island, really not that relevant to the actual game. Sanctuary Onslaught, currently, I don't really know a way that you would speed this up, per se. The only idea I really have is that the efficiency, like, what are they called? Like the little things that efficiency stimulus, I think they're called. Those right now increase. Well, okay. Well, first of all, efficiency is just a code word for life support in Sanctuary Onslaught. If you hit 0, you lose. I think turning those from giving you a burst of efficiency to having them lower the time on the mission, I think that could be fine because that actually encourages you to go find them. And also it still kind of functions as, increasing your efficiency because it allows you to reach more zones than you would if you never picked it up. I think maybe 15 seconds per stimulus because I'm pretty sure 2 spawn, or I think 4 spawn in regular Sanctuary Onslaught and 2 spawn in Elite. I think that's an okay, way to fix it. Not in love with that one, but let me know what you guys think. For survival, as I said, in EDA, ETA, they already have a solution for this, but I would also really like to see, it get lowered to 3 minutes instead of 5. Ever since defense got lowered to 3, I really wondered why survival has not gotten the same treatment, because I always thought that defense and survival were very, similar game modes, just kind of in opposite ways. Index, not gonna talk about, I think the index is fine. Void Armageddon, since this is kind of a reskinned mobile defense... Oh, yeah, and mobile defense. I never actually touched on mobile defense because it's not in this list. Mobile defense... I don't know. It's really hard to come up with a... It's hard to come up with a thing for mobile defense because there's just so little there. I guess just lowering the timer to, like, a minute for mobile defense would be good. But I'm not, again, not really in love with that because that doesn't solve the engagement issue. Yeah, I don't know. Mobile defense, that's a hard one. You could do something with, like... Maybe, like, you can perform a hack at the console, which you can't cipher in order to speed up the timer by a certain amount of seconds. Yeah, maybe that's a decent way to do it. For Void Armageddon, because it's just kind of a reskin mobile defense, I want to just say do the same thing, but, you know, I don't know if the Zeramin tile set is good for that. So I'm not really sure about the Void Armageddons. Maybe you make Void Angels spawn, or Ravenous Void Angels spawn, like, during the actual defense part. But, like, not Ravenous Void Angels, but, like, the ones that are in EDA and ETA when a teammate dies and you have to kill a Void Angel to revive them. In other words, the ones where you don't have to go into Operator and go into that other area to fight them with Operator. You just have to kill a Void Angel. Maybe having those spawn and having those come and try and kill the Reliquary Drive. And then if you kill them, you decrease the timer by a certain amount, would be good. And yeah, so a lot of these solutions, obviously, I've kind of have mainly centered around adding a way to optionally spawn a mini-boss, which will, if you kill it, lower the timer. I do genuinely just think that that is a good way to fix these time-gated missions. There are some other time-gated missions that aren't on this list because they're not endless that I've kind of forgotten about. Certain sabotage missions, so I know that sabotage missions on Earth tile sets involve what is essentially a mobile defense section, along with on Jupiter Gas City tile sets. Also, Void sabotage missions involve a mobile defense part. In my opinion, I think those need to be just, like, reworked to be more in line with the way that Corpus Ship and Grenier Ship sabotages work, because I think those sabotage missions are, like, what a sabotage mission actually is, where, like, you have the two options to either blow up the core or freeze the core. I think that, like, to me, that just makes sense for a sabotage mission. Those others being, like, total offshoots of it just doesn't really make sense to me. And yeah, I think that's kind of all I wanted to say. Obviously, this is a very long video, first of all. Sorry about that. I got really passionate about this one because it's something that obviously everybody feels this in Warframe. Everybody, whenever they do a certain mission that takes a long time, they feel how much of a pain it is. And I don't know, with how much DE has improved things like the new player experience, and again, things like the defense mission changes, the Ash blueprints grind, I think they don't want the missions to be a slog and take forever just to get basic things. But unfortunately, I think that's just kind of how a lot of these missions are. And I want something to be clear, I don't just want every mission to be an exterminate or a capture. Obviously, I'm sure people are going to criticize me for that. I just really don't like it when I feel like, as a player, I'm waiting for a timer as opposed to actually doing something to complete a mission faster. There's obviously a bit of a joke there to be had about damage attenuation. However, I may or may not touch on that in a future video. And yeah, that's timed missions, and the reasons why I think they are not good and bad as a whole. Thanks for watching. If you let me know what you guys think. If you think I'm blowing this problem way out of proportion and that like these missions aren't that big a deal, then feel free. Hopefully my next video will not take like 10 or 11 days to come out before this one, but no promises, because I do believe that the next like 2 weeks I have some pretty serious homework to do for senior seminar class, but that's life. My next video will probably be on the state of power creep and difficulty in Warframe in general. So if you made it this far, then I guess that's your little leak for upcoming content. And yeah, once again, I haven't done it in a while, so I just want to really thank you guys for the crazy amount of support on the channel. Where I'm at like, 438 subscribers now, and I think like 50,000 something views on the channel in total. And I'm blown away. I mean, genuinely, it's so crazy that people care enough about my content to watch it that much and give it all the support that it gets. And really thank you guys for engaging with the content in the way that I kind of hoped people would, which is, commenting and having these discussions. It really makes me happy to see it, and I really like that this is the kind of community and culture that I'm cultivating on my channel. So yeah, thank you guys a lot, and I'll see you in the next video, which will probably be on power creep and difficulty, but no promises. See ya.